This is Lynn Loudermilk, the practicing crafter. Let's make some custom matchboxes for Halloween or fall or whatever season that you are making for right now. But we are going to get started with an example from Halloween. I'm going to just start by cutting out the images that I want to use. Today I am going to be using a transfer method for these matchboxes. So we are going to start by picking up the main image that we're going to use, and it doesn't have to be perfect. I am just going to rough cut around these. You could also just, rip to the section that you wanted to get. You could totally just do something like this just to get the general shape. This is just a recycled thin cardboard. I'm just going to bring this all the way down. And I'm just giving myself an outline to follow to cut out my matchbox shape. I'm going to use my Fiskars cutter. I just like using these because you can get such a straight line. Let's go ahead and do this side first. There we go. I'm trying to cut to the inside of my pencil line. And let's do the last one. Let's just see how that's going to work out for us. Yep, that's about perfect. Depending on the look you're going for, you may want to add some kind of background to that before we get started. So let's just going to use this tray just to keep my work surface clean. Now I am trying to create a look of where the sun has just set. So I grabbed just a few colors to work with. I will list all the colors in the description so that you will have those. I am not too particular about this. We are going to start by just adding a little water here to help me move this around. Telling you, I'm not too particular with this. We're going to add a little bit of Start Purple first. Oops. I just keep getting way too much. Oh my gosh. I might have to do another project after this to use all this paint up. I need some black to go in here with this. That ominous dark look. Now we're going to add this other purple real quick. Hopefully we don't squirt quite as much out. Oh, there we go. See, that's what I mean to do. Not that other fiasco that I keep doing. So let's just add some of that in there. Get all this mixed together. Maybe a little red. Getting better as we go. Look at that. And I'm going to need a little bit of that black. Okay, this is going to be my ominous sky. I'm actually just going to leave that here to dry. These two backgrounds that we've painted for our Matchbox covers, we are going to use some clear gesso. And that is basically so that when we start working with these image transfers, the water will not mess up the actual background painting that we did before starting. Let's just put a nice coat of gesso on here. And we will let that dry really well. I am just going to put a coat of ModPodge over this bird. Just a thin coat. It doesn't have to be a thick coat. I'm primarily getting the bird and this branch. I'm just going to put him right in the middle. I'm going to press him down really good. And at this point, again, as it so often is in crafts, this is going to be a waiting game. So this will be put on the back burner for 24 hours, a full 24 hours. Don't cut it short. We are going to start removing this paper. If you have never done this before, there are a few things to keep in mind. One, you need to be very patient when you're doing this process. And number two, don't use a lot of water. You want to moisten the paper that you're going to be removing, but you don't want to soak it down. So you can do that with either a sponge. A lot of people like to use a sponge. I like to use my ring finger to do this. So I am just going to do this a section at a time. And if I start feeling frustrated or just tired of doing this, I'm going to walk away and come back to it later, because it is just something that takes a gentle touch, and it also just takes some patience. If you can get that down, this process is really not all that bad. If you've removed a spot that you didn't plan on removing, you could grab a paintbrush and fix the spot if it's not too noticeable. This we will be adding more paint back to, so probably not as big of a deal. There are layers here that are coming off, so sometimes it's just about maybe removing one layer. And then, see, there's one layer. And you can come back and keep working on the additional layers. So if I walk away from it, I'm not going to come back to this project until it's dry. And you don't normally want to do that. Don't pull. Don't pull. That will cause you problems also. As I just showing you what not to do. Oh, goodness. I only have a few minutes this morning, so I'm just going to get this top layer off, basically. And I will come back and finish this probably this afternoon. But you can truly see where our little raven is starting to come through. I'm going to leave this here and come back to it just in a little while. Let's just clean that off a little bit. Set that back to the side to dry, and I will finish that up later. All right, so here is the second Matchbox cover that I am working on today. and it is basically a tree. And in case I did not say it, these images came from the Plaid Online library. So if you are looking for images, that might be a good place to check out. So for this one, I am actually using a sponge and my fingers, as you can see, a little bit of water, and we are just going to keep working away at this image. We are just going to add some more paint back to this project. Take a little black, and I want to mix it in with this red. Now we'll take our red, mix it in with the purple. Again, we're going to bring over some of this purple. And for the stick, just using a solid black. Now, just to add some enhancements, I am using black, silver, and white just to outline my bird a little more. Use the Sharpie to just, outline him. Next, we are going to add some ModPodge. I would like to add a glossy ModPodge to the bird. So for the remainder of the top of the box, I'm going to do that in a ModPodge matte, and that will just give two different finishes between my bird and my background. We've got this little owl that was part of the original transfer. I just made a second copy, and we're going to add him in here. But before we do that, I am just going to take an off-white and just paint around the edge of this image, and then just take a rag, blot it off, and let that dry. Using that same off-white, I am just going to start outlining this moon. You may be able to see it and you may not, but we are going to get that painted in. Mixing some black and white, we are going to create a color just to make some shadows on our moon. Of course, if you have a gray, you could absolutely use a gray for this. Now we will just grab a black and outline the tree once again. Let's just, make our moon sparkle a little bit. Using my apple barrel paint pen in black, I am just going to add some bark lines to our tree. All right, so we're just going to add a little Mod Podge to the back of this little owl. Let's just add him onto this branch, back onto this branch. He was actually initially a part of the picture. Here we go. And I am just adding another coat of Mod Podge to the raven. Again, the matte on the scenery. And we're going to use our gloss again on our bird. On our raven. Using my paintbrush, I'm just going to add a little more texture, holding it to the side, short brush strokes, and ModPodge will just create a little more interest. Today has been a day for Halloween projects. I am about ready to button this one up. So I'm just going to remove the matches for a moment. Using ModPodge or whatever type of glue you have, apply that to the top of the lid. I am also going to add a thin coat to the back of the image. Now let's just line this up, and I am going to place my piece on top of here, and I'm actually just going to lay this down. And we are going to give it a good press all the way around to try to establish a really good connection. Now, I am going to use these little pins to hold this down while it dries. Just going to keep that pressure applied while this dries really well. I have 2 large paper clips that I'm just going to use. I don't want to skin up my match surface. I'm about to finish up these matchboxes. I got to thinking that it would be nice, since this is a raven, to have a quote on there, and then another quote, something for the owl. So using the Canva app, I found a couple of fonts that I really liked and just put some words on paper. We are going to cut those out and add those to our 2 matchboxes. What you could do with these is you could use an ink all the way around each of these, but I am actually going to use a candle. Just be careful. If you're doing this at home, one thing that you want to make sure is that you have a cup of water close by, just in case things don't go exactly as planned. You can see I'm not even touching the flame to get those edges burnt. It's kind of like roasting a marshmallow. You don't want your marshmallow, well, you might. I like my marshmallows burnt, but if you're one of those weird people that likes your marshmallows to be maybe not so done, then you hold your marshmallow close to the flame, but you never touch it. This is something that not everybody needs to be doing. Create the same effect by just ripping the paper and, inking around the edges to give it kind of that look that you're going for. You might even use some tweezers. So you could use your tweezers to hold that, and you would probably be much safer. So let's do that, especially since this one is so small. Wow, that was close. But I like it. I like how close it is, actually, so we're just going to go with it. I did this one with a Distress Oxide, and you can just take something and just add that ink to the surface and around those edges, and you have something relatively similar. The third thing that you could do is, let's see, let me use one of these as an example. You could totally take just a brown paint. Mine is a FolkArt Nutmeg. It's called an antiquing medium, but you could do this with even brown paint. I am painting the back because my ink will run based on the printer that I used. And I'm going to take the undiluted paint and I'm going to just go around these edges really well. A dark brown or a black would work to give you, not exactly the same effect, but certainly a similar effect. So if you don't have an expensive ink at home, but you do have some black or brown paint, you could do this with that. And it's just, just paint the back, kind of comes through the front a little bit, right? And then the darker to actually finish off your edges. And then we would have, something similar that we could add to this Matchbox. Press that down. And to finish these off, we are going to add one more coat or two of our ModPodge. Thank you so much for joining me for this project. I am just going to finish this up, but if you do something similar, I would love for you to share that with me. I am on Instagram and Facebook and would love to see your creations. Until next time, get out there, create something spooky, have fun with it, and enjoy the process. Thanks and have a great day. Bye.